Hi, this is Psycho Miki, and today we're going to talk about the beautiful work No Longer Human. Yeah, the literally translation is not bad. It's like, I'm worthy of being human. Hi, I'm sorry that the audio it's so bad because I'm touching the microphone. It's because mm, this isn't working. Just that. I don't know why it's called like that. But well, about the manga and the novel. Okay, why we are going to talk about both? Well, because first I read the manga. It's an adaptation from Dazai work. And Shoshito does an amazing job just capturing the feeling. It's really shocking to read it. It's really shocking how it's all the things that happens to Yoso, the protagonist. It's disgusting sometimes. It's sad sometimes, and you really want to cry. At least me. I'm so sensitive. Well, let's talk a little bit about Dasai. By the way, if you read the manga Bungo Stray Dogs, yeah, it's the same Dasai because it's inspired in writers from Japan. So Osamu Dazai, whose real name was Tsuchi Tsushima, was born in a wealthy family of landowners. Why I'm saying this? Because this will be like, oh, he was like so comfy. He had all the servants that make everything for him. He had money. Yeah, but that's not what Dasai's life it's about. He was the 10th child from 11 siblings. Yeah. Raised by her raised by servants since his mother was very tired, can you imagine? He always felt like he wasn't part of his family. He never felt the same feelings as any other person. And I think it's important, at least, to understand the whole context of the work. It's really autobiographic, really. Not the manga, of course. The manga it's creepy and supernatural, but it's amazing. It's really amazing, really amazing. But in the prelude of this novel, um, Ednodio Quintero said something is kind of funny. Dasai had a big um, figure for him that was Akutagawa. Akutagawa. Yeah. Well, he himself in 1927. That um, in the honor of Akutagawa, in the honor they made the prizes Akutagawa. Yeah, great. Yeah, so he really wanted to be chosen for that prize, but that was kind of hard. And he sent two letters. The first letter was like, "Hey, you are being rude, and why you're not giving me this? Because it's amazing, and I think you're jealous." Like he didn't say that literally. Yeah, kind of like that. But then, like imagine that was the first time he had the opportunity to have this prize. Well, later he was like, I'm convinced with magical objectivity that I'm going to be the winner of Akutagawa Prize in this second edition with my book, The Last Years of My Life. Yeah, that book was like the last years of his life because he wants to. Mm-mm-mm. So, and he won the prize? No. Yeah. So, no, this is not funny, sorry. But yeah, after that, he said to Kawabata, that was the man giving the prize and doing the analysis, he sent the last letter that was, if it's not too much trouble for you, I ask you, please, please, to grant me this prize. I want to make it clear to you that I have always had the deepest respect for you. Like, before he was like, I think you're just a piece of, and I don't like you. But then it was like, you're a master for me. I really, really respect you. So, please, please, my life had been so difficult. So, give me that prize, please. That didn't happen. But trying to himself was something that he did quite a few times. The first attempt was in 1929, because the literary idol Akutagawa died, and he was also frustrated with his university studies. He didn't feel right studying. He really enjoyed to read, to write, but I think it has to be, and this is my perspective, that he doesn't feel in those institutions that have a name and are part of the University of Tokyo, the prestige of that. So yeah. Then the double anthem that was 1 year later, and he became involved in a pact, but only the but he was rescued by but he was rescued. So they charged him and was accused of complicity, because can you imagine, she and he was alive, like, oh yeah, maybe you tried to trick her. Well, in here it looks like in the manga it looks kind of like that, but in here it doesn't look like that. No. Also in the manga it's everything creepier. He's such a horrible guy. Like, you can feel empathy for him, but yeah, sometimes it's like, well, okay, that's too much, too much. But in the novel I think it's more reasonable. Okay, it's the adaptation is not the same, and I really like it. I really like the adaptation. So he continued have anthems and anthems until the final one that was in 1948. Dazai and his another lover, Tomi Shamasaki, they took their own together by drawing themselves. I don't know what I can say and what not, so I'm just going to say, but you understand what I'm saying. So, context of this beautiful work, No Longer Human, was published shortly before his death. He's considered, and this is considered one of the masterpieces of him. It's one of the best-selling novels in Japan, and we have to understand this piece of art in the context of facing the traumas of Second World War, facing the traumas of World War the Second, right? The American occupation and rapidly changing society. Imagine that with the occupations, all the values that traditional Japan had were changing. There was like a hole in the symbolic. This was a period of time where the nation was having a crisis of identity. So many individuals felt lost between Japanese, traditional Japanese values and emerging Western influence, well, Western from United States. Hopelessness and existential questions were super common. Can you imagine, like, okay, what is happening? So yeah, let's do a summary of the work, um, so we can get into it. No Longer Human, it's a semi-autobiographical novel. It's, I don't know if it's semi, but yeah, let's say it. It's about Yozo Oba, a man who struggles to find his place in the world. He feels inherent disconnecting from humanity. This is important. That's why No Longer Human. It's, for me, well, it's a literally bad translation because in Japanese, I'm telling you, it's like unworthy of being human, disqualified. Um, and this makes a lot of sense because when you're saying that you don't deserve being human, you have a sense in a human with certain values that he didn't have. That's how he put it, even in the title. So let's continue. This work talks about the childhood of Yoso in the beginning, and he's enabled to understand the emotions and behaviors around him. Since the beginning, he's like, why we have to sit down and eat food? Why we need to eat food? Everything it's strange for him. He feels disconnected. Also, he talks about the trauma of being mm, by the servants. He said just like that. Yeah, when I was a child, I have been. They took advantage of him being a child, and that was something that did a mark on him. Why I say this? Because imagine that in general, the children that have these types of trauma, they start blaming themselves because they don't get it. They don't understand why this is happening. Why I have to suffer? Why the other kids are playing, are happy, are, but I don't feel that way. There, there is something wrong with me. I think that that's the answer. Yeah, and that's super common um, in general to feel guilt when you have a trauma like this. So the guilt is a feeling that he has in the whole novel. He starts to being you saw engage himself into destructive, self-destructive activities, addictions, promiscuous, um, and you'll tell me, hey, but why is that self-destructive? Yeah, the meaning. Imagine, no, this work is not written here in 2024. But yeah, being with workers, um, for him was like being at home because it was a fact that they were kind of part of the outsiders of what was not what women have to do. But yes, at the same time, yeah, I'm not going to enter in the sexuality topic, but in summary, he felt like, okay, you're rejected by the society, and I'm also rejected. So you're going to understand me. I feel safe in here. Also, well, I'm telling you, in the manga, he's more aggressive, and he's like, yeah, you're a piece of and I don't like you. He doesn't say that, but that's the attitude. That's the vibe. In the novel, also, you can see the different anthems of mm-mm-mm. The difference one, the first one with the geisha. In this case, of course, it's a novel. It's not a geisha. Well, and the yeah, you're going to see a lot of anthems. So the end is him just not being alive because he finally could make it. Yeah, but this is different. The end is different, of course, in the manga and in the novel, because the manga. Oh well, spoiler alert. In the manga, you're seeing him in the psychiatric ward, and he's confronted with another person. Who is that person? Well, who is that person? And that person give it to him the diary, right? He Yoso tell all the story to other person, right? And this other person make a book. And it's really, at least for me, a beautiful moment, because he's like, hey, this book, it's all about your life. No, you're underrating my creativity. And yeah, that's something that often happen with this novel. It's like, oh yeah, it's just a biography, but it's not only that. So in the analysis that I want to do, I had been reading a lot of papers about it, and they were always trying to say that he was kind of alienated, subordinated by some signifier, some signifier, and I don't think that. I really think that he is not a slave from the um, social structures. He's literally the resistant to subordination. He's all the time choosing the route that he hadn't had to choose. So, because this is Psychomiki, we are going to talk about Lacan, and I love philosophy also. And Lacan said that a subject, it's the signifier of another subject. What is that? That we have sense because of the other, because other language, it's what made us, right? Like, I'm Micaela, and why I'm Micaela, why I'm a woman, why I'm whatever. But that is so words, but not words like, oh yeah, something that it's in the air. No, no, no. That also changed the reality. We talk about this. So if you didn't see video, my last video, I highly recommend you to watch it, because we talk about this. But yeah, so for me, Yoso, it's trying to resist being interpolated by the other. Why? Because he's saying, right, I'm not worth it of being human. So he accepts that being human it's something, but he's like, okay, well, I'm not. Of course, I'm not. Great. I'm going to do my life just not being a human. because I don't understand. He also seems to reject the social and symbolic frameworks um, in general. He's not. Well, another fundamental thing about Lacan is that the desire, it's the desire of others. So if you reject the other, you are also rejecting your own desire. And what is your desire? Nothing. Yeah, that's Lacan. Lacan said that the desire it's the 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 lack of an object, that we have to search it, and that's the desire that keeps us alive. But if you reject the other, you're also rejecting your desire, and that's why we can, or at least that's my analysis, we can say that he's all the time playing with not being alive, because the desire it's part of the life that keeps you active, keeps you trying to, but he, it's like he doesn't want to try it anymore. That's why he had a lot of anthems, right? So yeah, it's amazing the rejection of symbolic system, but it's also sometimes self-destructive for him. So if you analyze Yoso from this perspective, his behavior suggests that he's not willing to play society game or to script himself into the codes of Japan that time. I think that just uh, some data that I'm going to draw that in Shunshi Ito's manga, um, they describe that he's in the Marxism, the Nippon Marxism movement, but because it's only the adrenaline, like the rush of being doing something illegal, but he doesn't say it so rough. Let's say in the novel, so that I, I don't know. Just if you want to read the novel, you can understand better what Dazai wrote. Yeah. So in this context, we can say that he rejects the dominant values of Japan, traditional values, and also he it's in an absurd moment of time that doesn't have all the values, like, oh yeah, you're not going to university, yeah, that's so bad, but I'm going to give you money so you can find a job. Yeah, but he also didn't want that. He's like an outsider of the discussion. He is not he's not this way or this way. He's outside of the symbolic, right? He's a radical subject. And this along with Zizek, because why I'm saying this radical subject, because he is beyond the power play between master and slave. This subject, Yoso, rather than being a slave to the master, it's outside the system, rejecting the dominant significers that structures social life. It could be said he also embodies this figure subject who doesn't want to participate in the dialectics of powers of the roles assigned to him. Right? But, and this is important, hear me saying this because it's not like, oh, great. No, because alienation then not comes from being subordinated to the master, to to the social structure, but from being outside of the system. Because, as we said before, he's not choosing life. He's just not choosing his desire to continue. His desire is just nowhere because he doesn't have any space to make that as with sense, because he doesn't have a mirror to reflect himself. Well, and finally, I would like to talk a little bit of Dostoevsky influence, the guilt, the redemption, and nihilism. Because Dazai was an admirer of Dostoevsky, he even, well, in the letter that he wrote, that I said at the beginning, the letter that he wrote to the prize to Akutagawa, um, yeah, he named Dostoevsky. So Dazai was a great admirer of Dostoevsky and unfit to be human, resonate with themes present in the works such as Crime and Punishment and The Idiot. In both, we found characters tormented by a deep sense of guilt, alienated from the rest of society and caught in self-destructive spiral. The moral dilemma and the rejection of the Redemptor. Like Raskolnikov, like Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment, he also seems to suffer an internal struggle between the desire from self-destruction and the search from some kind of redemption. Although, in his case, the redemptions always seems out of reach, while Raskolnikov, after committing a crime, seeks to free himself from the guilt through punishment and eventually through the love of Sonia. He also finds no capable of redeeming him. He tried, you can see. He said, okay, I'm going to settle down. I'm going to marry this woman that she loves me. She's a great woman. But even his relationship with women like Shoshiko, even his relationship with women like Yoshiko, who could symbolize a figure of redemption or salvation, ends in failure. And now let's talk about the nihilism and the decadence. In philosophical terms, Yozo could be a nihilist. Yeah, like some of Dostoevsky characters. Because he doesn't find value in moral social structures. Because he's like, yeah, God is dead. No, I'm so stupid. Sorry. And his disregard for social norms and his inability to form meaningful bonds lead to a state of moral decay. This nihilism, however, is not like an active challenge to the system as in Dostoevsky demons, but rather a passive resignation. Yosu doesn't want to fight against society. He just withdraws from it. Okay, so finally, I want to talk a little bit more about trauma and unconscious. Yes, Freud. Freud suggests that repressed trauma tend to resurface through fantasy and dream. Nightmares and dreams episodes in Dazai work can be read as a manifestation of Joseph's fears and anxieties. Yeah, which he fails to consciously comfort. His constant sense of strangeness, and inability to see himself as a human could be a form of dissociation. This is a defense mechanism against repressed trauma. In the dreams, the fantasies, the desire try to become true. Freud deposits Freud posits that all the human beings are not only motivated by desire for pleasure and survival, like the drive of eros, um, but also we all have this thanatos drive. This means that there is a part that leads us to the destruction. And it's like a fight between the Eros and the Thanatos that continue the life. So Yoso seems to be caught in this drive, sabotaging his relationships, his career, and his own life in an ability to connect emotionally with others. You can see a resistance to accepting life itself, a rejection of the existence that could be understood in Freudian terms as an inclination towards annihilation. And to conclude this analysis, it's important to remember that literature, through characters like Yoso, offers a beautiful opportunity to reflect our own life and societies. Yoso's tragedy, thought extreme, it's a mirror of Yoso's tragedy through extreme, right? It's a mirror of the struggles of many people face in their attempts to find a place in the world. Reading No Longer Human invites us to confront our own vulnerabilities and to recognize the importance. Yoso's tragedy, it's a mirror of struggles. Reading No Longer Human invites us to comfort our own vulnerabilities and to recognize the importance of finding meaning, even in a world that often seems to not offer none. Osamu Dazai, through his break hurting, through his heartbreaking voice, remind us that human fragility is not a weakness but an inherent part of a condition of being alive, and that the recognition of that fragility can be the first step in facing the existential emptiness that many like Yoso experience. This journey through No Longer Human in This was the journey through No Longer Human, and the philosophical and psychoanalytic perspective that illuminated should lead us to reflection on how, despite our internal or social crisis, literature offers always a way to see ourselves with greater clarity with greater clarity and depth.